was approaching the bridge that I saw this man on the right side of it. Looked like someone in his early 20s. He was 5'9", 10", medium build. He had very dark hair, brushed to one side, slightly longer over the years. You could see that his chin was slightly square and his eyebrows very prominent.
Who was this? An innocent jogger or a double killer? At around the same time, a few yards up the road, firemen were called to Clifton Court. Dawnie O'Connor was found in her burning flat. She'd been strangled.
Jeremy Payne, this must have had a profound effect on the community.
These murders have caused immense distress to the community and devastation to the family of Claire and Dawn. Dawn was a smashing person. She was lively, young at heart, and Claire was gentle and she wouldn't have harmed anybody.
Now, with no obvious motive, is the killer likely to be somebody who appears to be weird, who acts strange, or at least did around this time in January?
You're absolutely right. We have no logical or obvious motive, and it's quite likely that the offender would have behaved strangely before or after these crimes.
Now, obviously, there are people in the film that you want to eliminate, that you want to trace. Is there anybody else you need to find?
Yes, the week before Claire's murder, there were some young children messing around in a basement flat next door. They're two boys and a girl, aged between 10 and 14. They're not in any trouble, but we need to know who they were.
So, if you know who those kids were around Cornwallis Gardens on Sunday the 11th of January, call us straight away. What about the two victims? I mean, have you traced all of their friends? I mean, these aren't people who would have let anybody in the door. They wouldn't have let strangers in.
No, they were very security conscious, and it's very unlikely they would have let strangers in. We've spoken to many people, friends and people who knew these two ladies, but if you haven't come forward yet, please do so.
And do you know all you need to know about their movements around the time they were killed?
Well, in respect of Claire, her father had an arrangement with her whereby he would meet her in her flat at about 3 o'clock. Now, Claire wasn't there on that Sunday, and we don't know where she was earlier on the day. So if you know where she was, please give us a ring.
Sunday the 18th of January.
That's right.
What about Dawnie? Accounted for all her time?
Now, Dawnie, the critical time is 20 to 3 to 20 past 3 on that Monday. We know that Dawnie was alive at 20 to 3 because she rang a friend, and at 20 past, the fire alarm went off, so the killer would have left her flat between those times.
And it was around 20 past 3 that runner was seen on the bridge, which is really right outside her flat. We had the artist's impression.
That's right. We put a lot of effort into tracing that man, and he hasn't come forward. It's purely for elimination purposes.
OK. Just tell me what the significance you think of the oil was at Dawnie's flat on the floor, and how can viewers help about that?
I don't know what the significance of the oil is. However, that might be the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle in somebody's mind. If you're suspicious about somebody and you suddenly realise that back in January they had a can of oil they were carrying around with them, then we need to know.
OK. This is a very, very rare offence, of course. There's a reward of £10,000, but above all, these murders have caused a lot of grief, as you've just heard, and they still represent a serious danger. Here's Claire's father once again.
I would appeal to the family of the killer and ask them to consider very deeply whether what they are doing is the right thing. Think about it very deeply.
0500 600 600. And obviously the importance of calling now is to prevent another death. That's our free call to us here, live in the studio. And other detectives on the case are standing by on 01 424 456 060. That's Hastings, 456 060.
7 weeks ago, two men entered a building society in Upper Tooting, South London, produced a handgun and demanded cash. Instantly, a siren went off and the men fled empty-handed. Do you know this man sprinting away? He's about 30 and fairly short, maybe 5'4". Or this man in the blue check shirt. He's tall, about 6 foot and around 25. And is this the same man pictured in a shop nearby? If you can identify these people, do call us now on 0500 600 600 or call the Barnes Flying Squad on 0181 247 7931. That's 0181 247 7931. Now, this is a cash container, and be warned, it's armed and it's dangerous. Many are fitted with anti-theft devices. This one from Securicorp will spew out red smoke, which will penetrate your skin, your hair, your clothes and your car, and it won't come out. The dye also ruins any banknotes inside, but one robber had luck on his side. The cash canister he took wasn't primed. It happened 3 weeks ago at 9 in the morning outside Lloyd's Bank in York Road, opposite London's Waterloo Station. A man with a gun walked up to a Securicorp guard and told him, "Give me the money or I'll shoot you." Is this the gunman? If not, he could be an important witness. Who is he anyway? He's in his late 30s, 5'9" and stocky with short dark hair. 0500 600 600 or call the Barnes Flying Squad on 0181 247 7931. That's 0181 247 7931.
One Saturday last month, a young woman travelled to London for the day to visit friends. She barely knew the city, but like most people, she assumed the capital was relatively safe, which it is. But what happened to her was almost unprecedented. She explains a sequence of events, starting as she began her journey home from Balham in South London.
Sorry? This was about 7:30 at night, Saturday night. Don't use the underground very often either. I don't know my way from station to station though.
Who was this just behind her at Balham Station? 7:30 p.m. on Saturday the 14th of March. Mid-20s, perhaps 5'9", with shaved hair under a baseball cap. He was right behind her down the escalator, and when they reached the platform, he started talking to her.
General chit-chat. I remember seeing him again on the train. And we stood holding on to the pole by the doors, and then he came up behind me. And I saw he had a gun on him. He said, "Don't do anything stupid. If you don't do as you're told, I'll kill you."
Maybe you saw them on the Northern Line to Stockwell, where they changed to the Victoria Line and on to Highbury and Islington.
He did seem sort of like Jekyll and Hyde. It was 1 minute he could be quite nice. The next minute he had sort of a very nasty streak in him. I was frightened.
He held her so tightly she had bruises on her arm. Notice him now without the baseball cap. Did you see them at Highbury and Islington, Saturday, 8 o'clock, about 4 weeks ago? She can't recall how far they walked, but he took her to a terraced house, 3 or 4 stories, with steps down to a basement. But she was taken up steps to the main entrance, a white front door with glass in it, and someone else inside.
I remember asking to go to the bathroom, because I thought I could get out somehow, but the bathroom, it turns out it was downstairs in the basement. And once I got in there, there was no windows or anything, so I was trapped in there.
Over the next 2 hours, she was assaulted, drugged, then raped. Finding herself alone for a moment, she took a chance, made for a basement door and got outside, but her abductor ran down the road after her.
I remember running up a street. It was uphill. He was coming after me. He just had some trousers on, I think. He didn't have any shoes or anything on, so there were 2 people walking along there. And I was crying and he was coming after me and shouting.
Around 10:20, somewhere near Dalston, Saturday the 14th of March. You'd remember the scene, a man with no shirt or shoes. Or maybe you've suspicions about who this man might be. London accent with access to a flat somewhere around Dalston. The victim was rescued by the driver of this red hatchback who took her to Dalston Kingsland Station. If that Good Samaritan was you, please call now. The victim then sought refuge in a takeaway on Dalston High Road. She was almost hysterical, but 3 men came to help her. Please call if you know who they were.
Well, at first I was trying to be calm and everything. Then, as reality dawned as what had happened, I was crying and getting more hysterical, and I wanted to go home. I just wanted to be back in familiar surroundings. I just hope he can sleep at night, because I can't.
Please help to identify the rapist. Was the flat in Dalston his? Did he share it, or was he perhaps buying drugs there? Now, he was wearing a baseball cap similar to this one and a jacket looking very much like this. Perhaps you recognise them? Now, the second man who answered the door to the flat was black. He was slim.